No, that's not right, is it? Sorry, hang on.
It's coming.
Hang on. It's struggling to find it. Bear with me. Yeah, there it is. Just trying to make it bigger now. There we go.
Can you make it a bit bigger? Brilliant. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for coming along, and thank you to all the professionals coming along and presenting for us. So this is about early years sleep and toileting, and we've put on this virtual forum as feedback from you guys last year to say that you would like some more information on these areas. Next slide, please, Jane.
Bear with me 1 second.
So we've got Starting Well kicking us off, then the earliest specialist teaching service, the continence team and the sleep service, and then a quick update from us of what's happening next. So without further ado, next slide. We would like to welcome the earliest specialist teaching service, Terry Hughes.
Hello, that's me. So are you just going to click through each one sort of
Yeah,
as I say? Is that,
I can do that, yeah.
Okay. So as you said, we're the earliest specialist teaching service. Brilliant, thank you. That one's fab. If you go to the next one, then I'll sort of elaborate on who we are. So I'm Terry Hughes. I'm the lead teacher for the earliest specialist teaching service. I've been in post for about 12 months now. So sort of getting more established. We've had some changes in the team, so I've put things in here just to go through with everybody, because I know some of your parents might already be familiar with us and some might not know that we exist. So basically we're a team of specialist teachers and specialist support assistants. So there are 3 teachers in our team, including myself, and 4 specialist support assistants. We've kind of got a bit of a mixture of background, really, from working in special schools, working in different local authorities in similar roles, and from working in day nurseries and schools. So it's a real mix. And as it says there, we've got the teachers who've got that overall responsibility, and then the specialist support assistants who they kind of go out and do the visits as well, and under the direction of the teacher, they'll go out and put the strategies in place to support settings. Next slide, please. So the purpose of our service really it's a twofold thing. We're there to support settings. So the referrals that come into us, they come in from settings, but the purpose of us is to make sure that we've got that early intervention and that we can have that greatest impact from the get-go, really. So we will go into settings, childminders, schools, sort of anywhere that refers into us with early years children. We'll emphasise that inclusive practice to make sure that all of our children can access that quality education and to thrive and make that progress. So we want to make sure that we're able to upskill early years practitioners so they've got that confidence to support all of our children. Next slide, please. So as I just kind of said in the last slide, early years providers refer into our service if they think they need that additional advice or support. So obviously they'll have a broad cohort of children and they'll have all of the skills that they've already got about putting that support in place. But if they feel like they might need that little bit of extra support in a particular instance, they'll put that referral into us. We will triage the referral when it comes in, and then we'll evaluate where we can help, what it is that they might need from us, and then we'll get in touch. Before that referral comes in, we will say to providers we would be expecting that they're already using those reasonable adjustments and that good early years practice to put that support in. So we wouldn't be an instant referral. We would expect that they would have already tried and put some things in to make sure that support's there. We're not a parental service, we're a provider service. So parents can't refer into us, but obviously you're more than welcome to have a chat with your early years providers around the support that they can access from us. We don't come into home to do support. We are based in the settings. Next slide, please. So this is all available on our Live Well, and I have got the link to it further on. But we are So this is the referral that we use with settings for that referral to us. We're complex and severe learning difficulties, social communication differences. Our support's considered on an individual needs-led basis, so it doesn't have to be a case that a setting have had a number of reviews, or there doesn't need to be, as it says there, a diagnosis or anything like that. We are needs-led. So if we're having a chat with a provider and they're saying they need support with X, Y, and Z, we'll assess that and we will come out. There isn't, you know, we wouldn't decline somebody based on not having a diagnosis or another service involved or whatever. We are needs-led. And the age that we support is the term after the child's second birthday. Next slide, please. And as I've said there, the referrals must be made by the earliest provider, but this is a kind of a key one. They must be in agreement with parents and carers. We wouldn't accept a referral that hasn't been agreed by a parent or a carer. So providers can't come to us for that support without your consent as a parent. Any concerns that providers have and parents, it should be raised and documented in the inclusion plan, which is the document that providers use to submit all of their information to us. And going back to that agreement with parents and carers, it's got to be signed and dated so that we've got that proof that that conversation has been had. And parent views, parent carer views need to be considered all the way through that. So each section of the plan that you fill in with your early years provider, there is a section for families so that you can put all of your own concerns in and really input into that. So when we get that document, we can have a look. It's a really broad overview of maybe areas where there might be more support needed. And then once that's all done, settings send that completed inclusion plan and any supporting documents into us. It's a really useful one when that's being done, just as a kind of a further note, really. If you've got anything at home that's useful, so any letters or documents from other health professionals, if you can share those with your early years provider, then they can attach them and send them into us. And we've got that really broad picture. So you might have a report from speech and language therapy or a letter from a paediatrician, or you might not have them. Like, as I said before, you don't have to, but if they're there, it's just really useful to include them in that referral. Next slide, please. So once we've received that referral, the child's name is then added to the next available panel. So it's a bit of a triage panel with them all, because obviously, as you can imagine, we get quite a lot. So they go to panel and then each one is looked at, and then we receive that information following the panel. We'll have a look and allocate a professional from our team to pick that case up. And then we will we'll get in touch with the early years provider then. So anything that we do in terms of getting in touch with the provider, that they will then communicate that with you as a parent. So following that panel, you wouldn't get a phone call from us directly at EYSTS. It will generally be the provider that will then come to you and say, we've had, you know, EYSTS have been in touch, they're going to come out on X, Y, and Z date, or they've offered us more training with this, or something along those lines. So that communication would come through them. It's also the same, I sort of mentioned this a little bit further on, but it's also the same with anything that we provide that's written. We will send it directly to the provider and then they will share that with you. Obviously, if there is at any point that you did want to have a chat with us, we are able to do that. We will give parents a ring if needed and have a little bit of a chat about things, because we recognise that's really valuable in lots of cases. As it says there as well, just to be aware of, the inclusion plan document that you fill in with your early years provider, that is also used. So it's kind of a bit of a one-stop shop form, really. It's used for our support. It's also used to be submitted if the provider would like to access the early years funding, and also if they are, with your agreement, going to put in for an education healthcare needs assessment. So it's the same document that's used for all of those purposes. So when you're doing that, it's why it's so important that your input is in there all the way through that document, because it's a key document for all of these things. Next one, please. So these are the next two slides, sort of having a little bit of a look at the possible outcomes of a referral to our service. So as I said before, we triage that. It might be that we go back to the early years provider and ask for a little bit more information. Sometimes some things can be missing, or it might be that in this instance, we would ring a parent just to have that little bit of a chat and say, you know, have we got any more information around this or that? And it might be that at that point we will recommend a referral to another service. And it might be that a referral to speech and language hasn't been done, and we think from reading that it would be really useful. So we'll have a little bit of a chat there with the provider and see where that's up to. We will more often than not direct the providers to specific training that we put on. And we do have drop-in sessions that providers can come to where they can have a little bit of a chat. So we will direct people to that in the first instance. And then in most cases, a visit to the early year provider is carried out by the specialist teacher or both, sometimes the specialist support assistants. Next slide, please. Once we have sort of made that visit, we'll often go in, we'll assess the child, we'll observe them in their play through lots of different stages. So it might be that we'll watch them in the provision, then we might sort of have a little bit of a watch during snack time or a particular transition time that the providers expressed that there might be some difficulties around. So we'll carry that out, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat with the provider around next steps. These are generally quite individual, and it will be, as it says there, case by case, based on lots of factors, really, where things are already up to for that child, their age, kind of what we've seen during that assessment and that observation, where the providers are in terms of their own training and their development. So it's a case by case as to where the next steps are. Generally, we will then attend an Action for Inclusion meeting where you as parents and carers would get to come, you'll meet us, we'll be able to have a little bit of a chat about things that we've seen, the strategies that we're suggesting, because often those strategies that we're suggesting in setting are going to also be really useful at home. And having that consistent approach for children is key, isn't it? So we'll have that Action for Inclusion meeting with you as parents and any other health professionals at that. It might be that lots of cases for our children, we will do that kind of direct intervention. So the SSAs will go back and they'll do some modelling and upskilling of practitioners in the settings. They'll do a bit of a block of support so that when we've pulled away from that setting, the providers are still able to continue with the strategies that are working for that child. And then obviously we pop in and out at different points to review and advise if anything's changed or anything else needs doing. And as it says there in the last one, we also work with a range of professionals so that we've got that coordinated approach. We often work quite closely with speech and language and occupational therapy or physio, so that we can make sure we're all sort of sharing the same things and that we're tailoring that support for each child. Next slide, please. As it says here, another thing that we'll do is mainly through that meeting, but we can do it through the drop-ins and others, is having a chat with early years providers around that importance of you as parents and carers being involved in any decision making around these interventions and strategies. So it might be raising your attention to the Live Well site and all of the advice that's on there, or the process for a needs assessment, if that's something that maybe you're not aware of at this stage. We want to upskill practitioners to be able to support parents with that. Also, as I've said before, any referrals to other services. Sometimes for families it's difficult to know what's out there, and providers too, they might not always know. So we'll sort of be that bit of a bridge as to other services that can support. We will support with transition, so that might be between rooms within a provider, so it might be as they're moving between lots of different stages within that place that they're already at. It might be moving nurseries or settings, we can support with that, and also between nursery and reception we will support with that transition if it's appropriate. What we do as well is if an EHCP has been written, I mean it's been agreed and it's in place, we can go in and support providers with how to break down the outcomes of that and what that might look like to make sure that support's in place and that continuation. We've also got lots of resources that we can share in terms of, like I said before, training. We have physical resources that providers can loan from us. We've got a lending library, so that's there for them to access to support your children. And any referrals to other services as well, we can support with that. And as I mentioned before, we've got that drop-in and that training offer for early years providers to access. Next slide, please. And then this slide here, I've just popped in just as a little bit of a note, really, because often what can happen is things can be a little bit confused as to where we fit in to the education healthcare needs assessment process and with the funding. So we're an advisory service. That's kind of our primary role, that we go in and we advise and support with the providers. So we're not part of that statutory element where we write or we have sort of any approval over the needs assessments. So what does happen is sometimes we will be, if we've been supporting your child, we will be asked to provide information. So you might see our names or our service kind of pop up on the hub. That's because we do in some cases provide information, and that can take a variety of forms. It might be that we submit a written report. It might be that we just put in kind of dates and some observations and some advice in that form. That's quite case by case. So we're often asked to provide that information, but we're not part of the decision making for it. And as I've said there, often what will happen is, because we've attended the Action for Inclusion meetings, our advice will be in that inclusion plan document which is submitted. So that's often how our advice will be given for that process. It's the same with funding. We can be used as part of the advice in the inclusion plan document, or there may be a report or some written or verbal advice that we've been given that will support that process. But again, we're not part of that decision. Same with school places. They're 3 different services. We're that advisory service. Thank you. And then these last 2 slides I've just popped on some links. So this is the link to our service here. We've got our page, and it just kind of reiterates a little bit of the things that I've been through already, really. So that criteria for referral, who we are, and this is how settings use it. The inclusion plan document that I've been talking about is on there if you wanted to have a look at a blank one, so that you're familiar with that and the kind of the boxes and the sections. If you know that you've got a meeting coming up with your early years providers to fill it in, that's on there. You can have a look at. There is our main EYSTS admin. That link is on there for an email address if you did have any questions. And I've also popped on there a link for the SEND team for around that kind of process there, if anybody needed it. The next slide, I think, please, if you could just pop to that one. We've also recently developed some Padlets, so they are on our page as well. There's specifically a parent one, which we're updating all of the time. And if there isn't anything on there that you think would be really useful, please just drop us a message to the EYSTS admin and we can add it, because as parents, you've probably come across so many things that are useful that maybe we haven't even come across. So any sort of feedback on that would be great. That's there, as I said, changing all of the time, and we're adding things as we hear of them and taking things off as they need updating. So that's quite new. I think that's literally gone on maybe this week or last week, so it's really new if you haven't already had a look at it. So that's there. And then I think last slide, just some other services that you're probably already aware of, but I've popped them on here because they are really useful. And just to note that the name change there for the information and support service, so I've popped that on as well as a link.
Brilliant, Terry, that was wonderful.
Thank you. Whistle stop tour, sorry. But
no,
if there are any questions at any point, I'm more than happy to answer them.
If you can put questions into the chat, because I am a bit behind time and there was a little bit of a mix up with the slides as well. Yeah. So if anyone can put any questions in the chat, and we will forward them on to Terry, and Terry will be more than happy to answer them for you. And don't forget, we will send these slides out and the recording. So without further ado, starting well, you're up next. You were meant to be up first, but apologies, a bit of a mix up with the slides.
I've got the new slides up now.
Thank you. So yeah, we're gonna as we'll introduce ourselves first, actually, and then Katie will make a start. So I'm Robin Carew, early years lead for Starting Well 0 to 19 service,
and I'm Katie Wilson, district lead for the Chester and Chester Rural District. So Basically, we'll give you a little bit of an overview of what we're hopefully going to be sharing with you today. So it's just an overview of what our service is and how we can support you, how families can also access us, including any kind of referral criteria if they're relevant, if they're needed as well, and what support means as well in practical terms for you, for your children as well, and for you as your family. And then hopefully we'll also be sharing with you some kind of useful links and resources and signposting as well, which hopefully you'll also find useful. Next slide, please. I thought you were going to click that, weren't you? So these are kind of our three sort of main criteria or areas really that we work with. So we've got a children's centre core offer, our 0 to 5, and then our 5 to 19 and up to 25 with SEND. So our service really is dedicated to giving children and people the best start in life by providing a range of sort of family focused and individualised interventions. So we kind of deliver that with a sort of a preventative service around the children's health and wellbeing, young people and their families across the whole of Cheshire West and Chester. We kind of split into the 3 districts. Obviously, I've mentioned I'm working in the Chester district. We've also got Northwich and Winsford, and then Ellesmere Port too within there. So the centres really provide a range of service for prospective parents, so parents to be, children and their families. We aim to improve the lives of children and the parents by bringing together early childhood services at the heart of the community. So our children's centres are delivered by 0 to 19 Starting Well service, and that's part of CWP, so Cheshire Wirral Partnership, and we work closely to provide families and individuals work with families at the earliest opportunity. So we kind of are a skills mix, so varied kind of staff across those age ranges. So we have our nursery nurses, early years workers, Starting Well nurses, safeguarding nurses, TAF practitioners, public health nurses, my wellbeing advisors, a kind of whole array of different staff that are used within the skill mix.
Could you just click the screen one more time? There's another square to come up on the screen. Thank
I thought
you.
it was there before, sorry.
Okay, next slide, if that's okay. Yeah, so as Katie said, we are based in the children's centres, so Starting Well deliver all of the activity that we've just spoken about, and all that skill mix team are based in the children's centres. We have 8 main groupings and 15 kind of delivery sites. And they're spread across obviously Cheshire West and Chester. And what we deliver, so as well as delivering kind of that 0 to 5 Healthy Child programme and 5 to 19 service, we also have the Children's Centre core purpose, which at the moment is shifting towards something called Best Start in Life. So by April we will probably be known as Best Start in Life, with that kind of badge rather than Sure Start centres. So the aim of kind of the Children's Centre core purpose at the moment is to improve outcomes for young children and their families, focusing on the most disadvantaged families to reduce inequalities in those 3 things on the screen. So child development and school readiness for all children, parenting aspirations and parenting skills, and child and family health and life chances. So anything that we run in the children's centres, it usually meets one or more of those 3 things. And our core offer, which we will go through, is kind of followed along a little bit like a parenting journey. So we'll talk you through that today. But when we say core offer, we mean things like whether that's things like anything to do really that is for children under 5. So if you hear that term, that's what we mean. Next slide, please.
As Robin's just mentioned then, our parenting journey, and this is kind of really the start of that parenting journey. So we break it down really into what we call our mandate contacts, which is linked to the Healthy Child programme. So these are contacts that we have to deliver on in terms of the Healthy Child programme. So they are the antenatal contact, our new birth visit, 6 to 8 week reviews, 1-year developmental review, and our 2-year developmental review. Those are delivered by a skill mix. So our antenatal health, new birth visit and 6 to 8 week is delivered by our health visitors, and our 1-year and 2-year reviews are primarily delivered by our nursery nurses. Some sit with our early years workers if they're linked to the 2-year funding, and some are delivered by the health visitors. So at those contacts, that will be really looking then about where you sit within our kinds of pathways as well. So some of those contacts will be universal. So they're universal at the 6 to 8 week review. That's then when you go into kind of like our universal pathway. So as a parent, you would then be contacting us if you were to need any advice, engage within that core offer, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth on the coming slides, if there was anything that you needed or wanted from us. If it may be some of those contacts, there was some identification, maybe some emerging need, we would then be allocating you a health visitor. And we really want that kind of continuity of care as well for you on that journey as well. Sometimes we will have the allocated, not sometimes, all the time, should I say, sorry, if we identify there's a complex need, maybe it's at that antenatal point that we know that at birth or the 6 to 8 week, you would then have that allocated health visitor that would do those 5 mandated contacts, but also contacts in between that as well. And you'd also have that kind of named professional as well that you would know to contact if you needed anything. Have I missed anything on that?
I think just the only thing to say on that is that these contacts, it's not a referral. So we invite you to these, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I need to get in touch with them to book my 6 to 8 week or the 1 year contact point. These are the stages and along that parenting journey where we will reach out to you and you'll get a letter, or it might be that your allocated health visitor rings you and says, I'd like to see you and just have a catch up. And when we talk about development reviews, and I'll probably reiterate this a little bit again in a little bit, there are times where we know that it's not appropriate to do a kind of a review of development using something called an ages and stages questionnaire. However, we will celebrate your child's learning and development in a different way, however that looks for you, and really celebrate those small steps that they may have taken. And those touch points would be used mainly as an opportunity to ask you how you're doing, if you need any support as a family, and really using that think family approach. So has your child got any older siblings, or do they need anything? Do you need anything in terms of housing, or any debt support or anything like that? So even though they say 1 year development reviews, we would still
real think family, isn't it?
And we'll just base it on you as an individual family and tailor it to suit your needs. Next slide, please.
So following on from those kind of mandate contacts, these are other elements that sit alongside our parenting journey, what we kind of refer to as our open access. So these are, again, when we talk about our core offer delivery, this is part of it, our open access too. So we have a duty function. So each district has a duty contact number where you can contact our service between the hours of 9 till 5. And you can give us a call about any advice, anything that you would like support. It might be around when there's a certain session on, you might need some advice around sleeping and things. You can give us a call, and then that call will get triaged and we'll get back to you. If they're not on another call, they'll speak to you there and then, or we have like an email system as well. Then it gets flagged for the different staff to be calling, and you'll have somebody get back to you at the end of the day for that one. Open advice clinics, they run across all of our service. We have one every day here in Chester, so they're for 0 to 5 years, and that is where you can come and get some advice. There's no need to book into those. You can just turn up for those clinics, and they're delivered by our nursery nurses. So that can be things from height, weight, any general queries that you've got. Open advice as well is also bit of a triage system too. It might be that we identify that some further support's needed there. We can sort of touch base and get that allocated out to one of the skill mix as well to come out and do some additional support as well if that's required. We've got our chat health number as well. We appreciate how busy parents are. So our chat health is a text messaging service that you can text into. That might be, we just spoke about maybe the developmental reviews. You've got one due and you can't remember the time. And, it's the end of the day. You thought, I haven't given them a call. Nobody's there. Nobody in the centres are there. So you can just drop a text to that number and then someone will get back to it the next day. It is a non-emergency number, but it is a really good way sometimes when we've sat down with a cup of tea in the evening and thought, I haven't called. And again, it might not just be around appointments, it could be a general question around some advice and guidance, and again somebody will get back to you on that one on the next day or on the day, depending on when you send the text. There's also alongside that chat health a young person's line that sits along that too that we use. Same principle. That number's manned Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. There'll be a practitioner on the end of that young person's line as well. And we know sometimes having those face-to-face conversations for young people and picking up the phone can be quite daunting, whereas that text message service is quite a nice opener as well for us. We also deliver across the service baby massage. We've recently made some changes to that for it to become a universal offer. And again, there's kind of no referral criteria to that. You may see it on a timetable. You can give us a call and you can book onto those sessions. Your health visitor again may have shared that within one of their contacts with you, or one of our other skill mix staff may well have shared that with you and can get you booked onto that for us. We have our introduction to solid foods workshops. They started over in Northwich and Winsford, didn't they? And they've proved really successful. So they've rolled out now across Ellesmere Port and also Chester. So you'll see those on our timetables now. So that's kind of those conversations for 6 months, really, when we're looking at introduction to solid foods for our young children. And then sleep workshops as well. They have also been delivered across the whole of our service too. And again, they're on the timetables, no referral criteria, just a call and book yourself onto those. And then last but not least, our parenting puzzle. Is that 2 to 4? 2 to 5. 2 to 5 years. So parenting puzzle really is around some support and guidance, really around some. I'm trying to think if I'm trying to think how to word it now in terms of parenting puzzle.
I think it's just if you're going into kind of that toddler stage, and you know those kind of expectations, it explores kind of your own well-being as well as understanding children's behaviour, why they display certain behaviour. We also recognise that not all parenting programs are suitable for all children. What I would say is, if you take one thing away from this, if you're struggling, you know, with managing emotions and behaviour, and I noticed a question on the agenda that somebody had asked around, you know, how do I support my child at home when they're having a tantrum and they don't, you know, benefit from that kind of physical comfort? Get in touch with us, please, because we have, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them in a minute, but we have SEND practitioners, we have groups that you could come to where you can have that more individualized support. Somebody might be able to find out about what your child's kind of sensory needs are and really think about those in a home environment and help you implement some stuff so that they can get their sensory needs met, and that would really help with those times when they're having a meltdown. So yeah, please get in touch. If you take one thing away from today, just remember that we've got that duty number that you can ring and you can get in touch with us. We'll share those at the end. Next slide. So we, alongside our universal open access offer, which anybody can, you know, come along to, we also have some elements of our delivery that are targeted. And these elements work on the basis of either like a referral or an invite. So I'll just very quickly talk you through these. We mentioned, you know, that you might be referred for further support, and that might be from your health visitor, or it might be from, you know, your little one's nursery, or, you know, the school if they were that older age group. What we really try and make sure everybody knows is that all of our open access groups, so we have a weekly group called Let's Play, you are welcome. And all children are welcome, and we will adapt our planning and our environments as much as possible based on your expertise of your child's development as their parent. We love hearing about their special interests. We love planning for them. So, you know, come along to those and try those things first, because we want to make sure everybody has access to what we offer. We recognise, though, that not all children cope in those busier environments. So we have focus groups that are slightly smaller. Those are something that you might be invited to, if we feel that maybe it would be helpful to gather more evidence, or, you know, just really kind of help you with your confidence in supporting your child's development. We also have home learning. We recognise that actually it can be a really anxious time getting out of the house at first, particularly if your child, you know, feels overwhelmed in those environments. So that is something that your health visitor might offer. And that is 6 weeks of kind of bespoke play support at home. Again, all based on your child's special interests, about their sensory needs, really getting to know what they enjoy and what they what they don't like, and making sure that we don't kind of trigger any of those kind of sensory things. The other thing that we do as part of the home learning is to get to know what you want as well. So it might be that you want some more support, as I said, around kind of managing those and how to, really support your child's emotional development. That's absolutely fine. But it may be that you also want to be more confident in sharing stories and think about how you can do those in a different way. So it's based on what you want as well. We have Let's Explore, which is something that your health visitor or an early years worker from the children's centre. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
We're taking too much time.
Got about 4 minutes left.
Perfect. We'll speed through.
Just keeping you on track.
That's fine. Thank you, Lucy. So Let's Explore runs from 5 of our link sites. It's once a month, but actually it's a service-wide offer. So you can go to any and yeah, you might be signposted to that and you can get advice. And as you can see on there, it's a real sensory-based group, really adapted to what the children in that group enjoy, whether that's that they seek out those sensory experiences or they avoid them. We'll plan around that. And then obviously you have your allocated health visitor who you may get in touch with if you feel that you need some support, and then they might delegate some work to our SEND practitioner. So our SEND practitioners can support with things like sleep. They can support with foods and sensory experiences if that's something that you're struggling with. It may be toileting. We have really high kind of expectations around toileting for children. We believe that even children who can't communicate verbally, that we should still kind of have that expectation around that, and we've had some really good success around that. So just keep all that in mind and get in touch if you need anything.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Sorry, hold on. It's not.
Okay.
It's not moving. I don't know what's going on.
Nose
now.
we're short on time.
We're under pressure.
So just to reiterate as well, you might have seen these because I think we shared them through the Parent Carer Forum, but we have sensory rooms in these 5 locations. We're really pleased. Blacon Sensory Room was renovated and it's all brand spanking new, so you can book on. It's free to book. You don't need to be referred to it or anything like that. You can just phone up, and we are really excited that Stanley Abbey Children's Centre and Wharton Children's Centre will also be refurbished very shortly. So yeah, you can scan the QR code or call the centre numbers to book your slots.
Next slide, please. It really does know we're against the clock, doesn't it? So touching points really onto kind of our 5 to 19 and some of the delivery that kind of sits under that. So we'll just kind of touch on those. So we've got vision and hearing, school entry assessment, NCMP. That will look slightly different. Within specialist provision, that tends to be done if there is a paediatrician working with the family. They'll tend to do that within their work. We've also got high school drop-ins, some school engagement sessions. For example, we've just done Crucial Crew. We link into HAF and things over the holiday period as well, where a lot of our 5 to 19 staff go out to those. Public health promotional events kind of linked to what I've just said above. Youth service engagement, we do a lot of work. Our participation engagement officer goes out to a lot of those events. And then the young person's chat health we kind of touched on earlier in the previous slide. So next slide, please. Helping us shape our service are, for us, the voices of our service users are the most important voices. We want to be tailoring and listening to those. So it's just a few of our elements here. We kind of get feedback on everything that we do. If you were to have a home learning, we'd have got feedback on it. If we support you in a TAF, we'd get feedback on that to support us with some next steps. And here's just a few key ones really. We have advisory boards, which are running each district quarterly, and parent representatives on those. If anybody wants to, we would absolutely love and welcome you. They're great, and that really is to look around our performance, how we're doing, looking about what we can link into the community to reach the community. So really covers various different aspects of our kind of delivery plans and how we're meeting the needs of our districts really, and using the data around that. Our annual census we've just completed that and are digging down on the data that to inform our kind of you said we did. There's some really good work that's come from that. We've had our Facebook page, we've had Robin, I'm really quick and can't think
increasing just in kind of offer of baby groups across the service.
Yes, various different bits that have come from it. And we've also started with our Let's Hear It group. So that's delivered by myself across all 3 districts. And that's where parents come into that and they share their voices with me in those groups. We've done the first one, second ones are really due, and some really good things have come from that. For example, Stanley Abbey sensory room has been refitted from something that actually one of our families had shared, and she was a parent with autism, and stuff in there wasn't working, there was lights flickering, and she was actually going there for a calming environment, and actually I come out more overstimulated than when I went in. So some really good stuff to come from that.
This is the last slide now. So this is just a reminder, you know, if you need to contact us, pick up the phone, use that chat health function, and reach out to your allocated person. And if you don't know who your allocated person is, please get in touch. Yeah. We're here for you along your journey, and we will tailor our service as much as we can to meet your family's needs. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. That was really informative. Thank you. If anyone's got any questions regarding that presentation, put it in the chat or let us know, and we will get back to Robin and Katie and they can get us some answers on that. But that was really great. Thanks. So thanks for coming. So coming up next, we have the continence team. Katie Farrell, I think.
Hiya.
Hi, Katie. Just getting the slides up.
Okay, so I'm Katie Farrell, Children's Specialist Continence Nurse with Cheshire Rural Partnership Trust.
Our Teams is slow today.
Do you want me to do it instead, Jules?
Is it working? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, should we go to the next slide? So we're a specialist service and we support children and young people with any bladder and bowel difficulties through doing assessments, developing care plans with the children and the families, and we work closely with families, schools and other healthcare professionals to make it a very individualised plan. Next slide.
You can bear with me, guys. It's sticking. There we go.
So in the team, we've got Lindsay is our manager, and then there's me and Andrea, who are the specialist nurses. We've got I've just put up our sort of specialist interest areas. So I tend to specialise in the bowel issues, Andrea's more bladder issues. We've got Alice, who's our nurse associate, and she specialises in nighttime wetting, and then Skylar Spencer, who's our nursery nurse, who specialises in toilet training children with additional needs. So we all cover the 4 areas, but we've got somebody who's a bit of a link to each area just to kind of keep us up to date with all the latest strategies and innovations. The team only recently grew last year. Sorry, no, you can go next slide, that's fine. So the conditions that we support are daytime wetting, so they're for our over 5-year-olds who may be struggling with any daytime wetting. Then nighttime wetting, again, this is mostly for over 5-year-olds. And then we've got constipation and soiling, which we'll see from 0 to 19. Delayed toilet training. So delayed toilet training, it's not really classed as delayed toilet training until somebody's over 5, but we will see children earlier if it's anticipated that toilet training will be delayed. And to support school readiness, and then any sort of complex continence issues we will support with that, such as irrigation or catheters. Next slide. So like I've said, the age range that we see is 0 to 19. The children need to be registered with a Cheshire or Wirral GP to be referred to us. Only professionals can refer in. So that would usually be your GPs, anyone from the Starting Well team. It can be other professionals, and families can contact us for any advice and support because we are an advisory service as well. Next slide. So what we offer will be a face-to-face assessment. This usually takes about an hour, where we'll really sort of look into the child's issues and what could be the causes of that, and to help the family to develop an understanding of how we can manage it and the treatment options. We provide education and support to families and to professionals, and collaborate with the sort of local schools and community services. In some of the special schools, we run a clinic. We also offer home visits when it's required, just to kind of be available where we're needed. Next slide. So this is just our contact details. The easiest way to contact us is probably by phone. We're not always, because we run clinics every day, we're not always available to answer the call, but somebody will get back to any messages that are left. And the websites I've put on the bottom, we've got the Starting Well website, which is an excellent resource, and the ERIC website. So ERIC is a national children's continence charity. Some of the questions that we had put through already, one of them was asking for some advice around constipation with incontinence of the bowel and bladder. So constipation can cause wetting because the bladder and bowel sit right next to each other. If the bladder is irritating the bowel, that will cause wetting. And as a consequence of being constipated, you are likely to have soiling. So you won't have a very good awareness of when you need to have a poo. So poo can slip out. They are all expected signs of constipation, and will only be managed when constipation is treated. So the first thing to do would be to see your GP to start some treatment, because medication is the only thing that's going to treat and resolve childhood constipation. So you'd want to get that on board, and then if you're still struggling, you would seek a referral to our service. The first line assessment is a level 1 assessment, which is carried out by the Starting Well team. And if there's still issues, then you would be referred on to us for a level 2 assessment. And then the other question that I had was around potty training and autism. So the approach to potty training that we use is called Let's Go Potty, and that's ERIC's approach. There's lots of information on the ERIC website, and the Let's Go Potty approach is a 3-stage strategy that's been developed to suit all children and all abilities. And it's a process of developing skills. So you'll develop the skills in the first stage and then move on to the next. Like I say, we're available to offer any advice and support through our telephone number or email address. Okay.
Thank you very much, Katie. That's really useful. Thanks very much. We've got a question in the chat. I have one using toilet and one that still won't. Yeah. So would you advise them to contact?
Yeah, I'll have a look in the chat now
and
get back to you.
That's quite personal, so I'll forward that on to Katie, that message, and get a response for you. Is that all right? Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Katie.
Katie, can I ask a question about whether or not you do like parent training around like potty training or even around constipation? Is that something that your service offers, is whether or not you actually have a training session for parents just generally?
No, we don't. It's individual sort of one-to-one that we're doing that at the moment. It's something that we're looking into to try and maybe get into some of the schools to offer like a group session, but it's at the very early stages.
Or even I think, yeah, some of the charities out there, I think would be, would be interested. With it's a completely selfish hat on. I run Down Syndrome Cheshire, and I know that there's lots of, kids who've got Down syndrome who might have delayed potty training or whatever else, if there's a course that you could run for parents, not just for children with Down syndrome obviously, but I think that might be a really great way of upskilling the parents to help them in this process.
It's definitely something that we're looking into, because the team's only just grown in the last sort of 12 months, and now everyone's kind of settled into the positions. We need to look into doing more education.
Brilliant. Okay. So parents, please do carry on putting your questions in, and we'll make sure that we forward those on to Katie. And I'll shut up now, Luce, and just a little bit of internal stuff now. Jane, are you going to pick up the rest of the slides? Perfect.
Okay, so coming up next, we've got Koala, our sleep service. Terry is going to present for us.
Hi, I'm Terry. I'm a senior sleep practitioner at Koala. And after listening to all those wonderful presentations, I feel like mine's aimed a little bit differently. It does cover very much about what we offer, but it also goes into some real sort of practical ideas about what can really help you as parents. So,
and that's sorry, Terry, that's why we've given you half an hour, because we knew you'd tap into what the actual sleep course is. So that was fine. The brief is right.
No, good. I've been gradually panicking across listening to everyone, thinking, oh, this isn't what my presentation is. So you can flip the slide, please. So it's going into what is sleep, and we'll start there. Next slide. We can skip that one. Thank you. So around 40% of children have sleep issues that are documented. For children who've got additional needs, and I mean, I'm saying children, it could be people who have additional needs, those problems can be up to 80%. That's obviously not to say that every child who has an additional need is going to have a sleep issue. I know plenty of families who don't, but I also know plenty of families who have their children don't have additional needs, and the sleeping is really, really challenging. So it fits within that, but it is more likely to have an issue with sleeping if your child has additional needs. It obviously comes in conjunction with lots of coexisting issues which can affect your sleep as well, like asthma, epilepsy will come across quite a lot. Obviously eczema can be causing irritation and pain during the night, which can mean that you don't sleep. 12% of children snore, which can be nothing, but it can be something, can lead to some of the more difficult issues such as sleep apnea. But as you can see, 0.5% to 3%, that is what they would be dealing with. So it's a very, very small amount that would be dealing with that, but snoring can be an indicator. Sleepwalking and night terrors seem to be something that are quite common. And they are quite age related. I mean, in general, night terrors tend to move on, but after the age of 7. But obviously that's not a written in stone, black and white thing. It can come. It can come later, and it can be from an early age. So there are ways of helping with that. Next slide, please. So sleep is important because it helps with our mental health. If we're not sleeping properly, our mental health is affected. Our physical health is affected. Our body image and our weight and how we eat is affected. For our children, it affects our education, as it's affecting our concentration and our learning, our behaviour within a schooling system, and often actually being able to attend school at all. Sometimes it has such an impact that actually school attendance is really difficult. For parents, it's causing stress. I'm sure you're all going to relate massively. Irritability, it can affect your mental health yourself with depression and anxiety, excuse me. It can affect your relationships. It affects your ability to work. I have supported a lot of families where they've actually had to choose to not work because of the sleep difficulties that it's causing and the lack of attendance in school, etc., etc. It affects siblings. All of those things that are affecting the child who's struggling with sleep and are affecting the parents, that obviously creates a particular sort of atmosphere and environment at home, which is then in turn going to affect everyone in the house. And I think that's all I would sort of say, you know, it affects everybody. It can even affect your friends. There's only so many times you say no to going out for a coffee before friends might stop asking you. So it might really change that relationship that you have with in your social circle. And obviously all of those things can make it's quite a heavy cost to society, and the lack of work, the health needs that people might have. Next slide, please. So things that cause disturbed sleep, there's quite a lot of things that this can be. So when we support families with sleep, it very much is trying to unpick all of this. And as you can imagine, this is quite a lot. And for some people, it may be one or two of these things, which relatively it can be straightforward to make changes and make tweaks to change it, but it could be a whole host of all of these things, which it sometimes is hard to know where to start, which thing to make a change with first, and what order to do things in can be really challenging. But things like having a lack of routine can very much feed into there being difficulties with sleep. If timings and expectations are different on a daily basis, that can be really difficult. A child having the inability to self-settling's a skill, and it's a skill to be learned, and not everybody has it. So that's what we're trying to empower parents and help parents to do, is be able to have those tools to help their children to learn to self-settle. Having issues with anxiety or even just worries, it doesn't have to be as fully blown as anxiety, but it can just be being worried about things, can keep you awake, keep your mind busy. Feeling hungry. Many of our children don't eat in a terribly positive and well way, and being hungry in the night can be a reason why you wake up. I mean, I know I certainly would. If my tummy was rumbling, it would wake me up in the night. And it does that for our children. So hunger is definitely one thing. Obviously thirst as well, for the same sort of reasons. There can be medical reasons why children are waking, like I mentioned before, you know, things like epilepsy, or if children are being peg fed or tube fed in the night, that can obviously disrupt how sleep is happening. Things like discomfort, you know, if they're unwell or in pain, that's obviously going to have an effect on how easily and readily that they sleep. Exercising too close to bedtime, it is commonly thought that the more physically active you are, the more tired you're going to be. And 100% we want our children and anybody who's struggling with sleep to be active in the day. You don't want to be sedentary. You do want to be moving and accessing and making your body active during the day. But if you exercise too close to bedtime, exercise does give us a release of happy hormones and hormones that actually keep us awake. We feel great, don't we, after we've exercised? So you don't want those happening right in that window close to bedtime. So yes, be really active in the day, but try not to do it right close to bedtime. And I've had lots of families who are like, well, we send them out on the trampoline for half an hour before bedtime. Well, all those endorphins and happy hormones are all raging around the body, and you're going to struggle to fall asleep after that. So it's just getting those physical activity in different times of the day to help it be helpful rather than a hindrance. Sometimes children are genuinely not tired. It is a bit of a, I mean, obviously, as everybody can, and you can all go and Google how many hours your child should be sleeping of their age, and there is an average that it will give you, but every child is different. And you can get children who do need very little sleep. And what we might see with the children who do not need a lot of sleep is what you might see is that they're actually presenting quite okay in the daytime, that you're not seeing any mood differences, you're not seeing any behaviour difficulties, you're not actually seeing them falling asleep in the day. If they are managing to function in the world and they are very happy and not showing any signs that they're at all sleep deprived, they might just need less sleep. And there are some children like that out there. The average sleep needs is not something to necessarily aim for. We very much work with where you're at, and if that needs to be increased for your child, we will work on increasing that sleep time. But it's not a number to be aimed at. Something that'll be very big for you all, I'm sure, is sensory issues and sensory inputs, which is something that if your sensory cup is not as full as it could be during the daytime hours, your body will seek out those sensory inputs in the nighttime, which obviously can make your body wake up. So we do look very much into the sensory side of things, and help with putting in activities that are going to help keep that sensory cup full, ready for it being able to manage overnight without needing any input. Being too hot and too cold and obviously different times of the year can affect that. There are specific sleep disorders that can mean that you're awake. Having things overstimulating, a bit like the exercise, if you're doing overstimulating things at bedtime, that can have an effect. And you can get lower natural melatonin levels. And there is a very, very small percentage of the worldwide population who don't produce any melatonin. But what our support very much does is focus on trying to get your body and your brain as calm and relaxed as possible, along with helping to produce your natural melatonin. And that is our main focus. Next slide, please. Diet, as mentioned, if you're hungry, how you diet, but it's what you're eating as well. We will go into food in a little bit as also, so we'll have a bit more of a chat about food, but diet and what you are eating can make a big difference to how wide awake or ready for sleep that you are. Teething, obviously that comes with pain, that can make you wakeful. Bedwetting, which was covered really nicely in the continence talk, but that obviously can be something, comfort and discomfort at night. Also your body working, so if your bladder hasn't switched itself off for nighttime, which we have our hormones and our processes to do that, and you're wet in the bed, your body is active, which can make you more wakeful. Napping at inappropriate times of the day, there's always that danger time, isn't there, beyond 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If the nap then you're going to be up for hours because they've rejuvenated themselves. There are ways of helping to manage with that. I think the biggest word that I could say really is consistency. You keep things consistent, and so you'd have a nap of a consistent time in the day, but also a consistent length of time, so that the body clock was regulating, so that it was having the same amount of nap time every day, so that then it was ready for the sleep at night, and having the same amount of sleep at night. Different sleep associations, things that are quite common are having a dummy for bed. Not saying that you absolutely can't have a dummy, but if you're having a dummy, you're obviously which will go into sleep cycles in a second, but you are disturbing your sleep cycles then when the dummy is not in the mouth. That child then needs that dummy to be able to self-soothe. So that's an association to sleep, and those children need that to be able to fall asleep. That's the association they've made to going to sleep. Things like having bottles as well, falling asleep drinking a bottle. If you fall asleep drinking a bottle, then you need that again to fall asleep again in the night. And you haven't necessarily got those skills of self-soothing. Parents' anxiety, use of screens prior to bed. Again, we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute, but that can very much have an effect on how ready you are for sleep and how wakeful you might be in the night. Next slide, please. So this is how we all sleep. This is just a little line graph just to explain how we all sleep. So we start off awake, which is on the left, go down through different stages of sleep into the bottom, which is the line where it's got N3, and then there's a line at the bottom. That's your deep sleep. You will then come up through different stages of sleep to those thick black lines. Now the thick black bit is you're partially awake. You're not fully awake, you're partially awake. Now, as you can see, we all do that naturally 3 or 4 times every night. Why this is important, go to the next slide, please. I think it's next. Yeah, so that's when we are partially awake, and often if there is no difference in our environment and what's happened with us since we fell asleep, our partial awaken will mean we turn over and we go back to sleep again. If, however, there has been a change in the environment, this can trigger your body to then fully wake up, and you are fully awake and you you're in your fight or flight mode. And for the reason for all of that is that we are all still made like we live in caves. So when we were first created as humans, we lived in caves and we lived in forests. If we had slept down at the bottom at N3 in that line at the bottom solidly for 12 hours, the human race would have died out because we would have all been killed probably by wild animals, the saber-toothed tigers and the bears, because we weren't being alerted to the fact that there was any danger. So that is why we sleep in cycles, and that is why we come back up to partial waking 3 or 4 times every night. It's because we need to check essentially for danger. Is everything safe? And what alerts us to the fact that it might not be safe is anything changed? Is there anything different? Has the stone rolled? Has the fire gone out? Is there something in the bushes over there that's making a noise? Those sorts of things trigger us to wake up. Now, obviously, we're not worried about saber-toothed tigers and bears in our houses. At least I hope we definitely aren't. However, any change in the environment, our body responds in the same way. So you might be really thinking about things like, was there a light on when they went to sleep and now I've turned it off? Was the door open when they went to sleep and now I've closed it because I've come upstairs and I'm nearby so I don't need it to be open? Was I present when they fell asleep and now I'm in my own bed? They will fully wake if things have changed within their environment. And sometimes it's biggish things like that. Other times it's really small things. Tidying up. If they've left the room in a certain way and you tidy up the toys or put their clothes away, that's changed what it looks like from when they went to sleep. So anything that changes can really have a big effect on their waking in the night. So that's a really big one to think about when exploring your environment and keeping everything consistent. It's that word again, consistent, to help reduce and hopefully prevent waking in the night. Next slide, please. So how our melatonin production in our brain helps our body fall asleep. It is the hormone, our sleepy hormone. It's nicknamed the hormone of darkness, and that is because it is produced by the brain from the pineal gland when it's darker. So we very much advocate creating, in that lead up to bedtime, very much a darkened environment. It doesn't have to be, we're not talking about walking around in the dark, but putting on lower lights. It's much easier at this time of the year because it is dark outside. So we will close the curtains, we will put lamps on rather than big lights, but creating that really calm, subdued lighting environment, because that helps kickstart our melatonin production. So it's very much controlled by that nighttime and that dark, and then the light as well, because it only takes 4 minutes of bright light to stop your melatonin production. So one key thing, which I don't think it's on the presentation on another slide, so I'm going to say it now. One key thing that can be really, really useful to think about is we might do all of these wonderful things, have a really calm and relaxing environment, darkened environment, producing all that wonderful melatonin, helping your child be sleepy. Then you go in your bathroom and you put your light on to brush your teeth and go to the toilet. And actually putting that big bright light on may completely ruin all of the lovely melatonin that your child's managed to produce. Think about having a battery set of fairy lights in there, or just putting having a light that's outside, that's a night light maybe, and not actually having to put on the big light. But we do have the worst bright lights in our bathrooms, and it tends to be the place that we go just before sleep. So thinking about that is really useful. Next slide, please. So this is how our melatonin's produced. So as it's daytime, you have it's sort of at 0. It gets to a darkened environment and it peaks. It peaks at about 4 o'clock in the morning and then gradually reduces. It's obviously how it's produced naturally in the brain is different to how it will work if you're given a synthetic version in a prescribed medication. But it's very much so light and dark is what controls your melatonin production. It also helps to control your cortisol production. So your cortisol hormone that kicks in when it's daylight and you are up and outside, that suppresses the melatonin production. So the two things are working in conjunction together. So it's just as much as it's important to have your dark and subdued environment in the evening, it's just as important to get your mornings bright and get that light into the eyes, to hit those cells at the back of the eyes to tell the brain it's daytime and it's time to wake up, to stop that melatonin production, to help them get up and be awake and get out of bed. Next slide, please.
Harry, can I just ask, we've had a question. What if your child used to going to sleep with the light on and that's the only way they can sleep with the big light on?
Yeah, absolutely, really important. And that is fine. If that is how they sleep, the key part of it is keep that light the same all night. If that child, I could go into it forever. Is that child waking in the night after that? Do we know? Or did it not say? No. No. So that's fine. However, that light is absolutely fine. If that child is going to sleep with a light on, that there isn't much of an issue there. And if they are happy with that and it's meaning that they don't wake in the night, there's nothing to change. Sleep deprivation. Oh, sorry. You okay?
No, I was just saying thanks. You can carry on.
Oh, no worries. Sleep deprivation is what our children potentially, but very much so us as parents, are suffering from when our children are struggling with sleep. It's a form of torture. It is used as a form of torture. So if you are struggling with your child in sleep, you are living through that torture on a daily basis. Many families that we come across are in crisis with exhaustion, and like I said before, you know, it impacts the whole family. And there is very little support out there for sleep deprivation, and sleep deprivation actually affects people of a multitude of reasons: your mental health, your physical health, how you feel about yourself, your mood. It can prevent you from going to work, which can have a whole host of issues financially, and how that all impacts your family. So sleep deprivation can be really huge and can make a real negative impact on a family. Next slide, please. So sleep problems out there are that there's more than are ever reported. Some parents, and I'll put myself included in there, you know, you feel judged, so often don't reach out for help. I certainly know as a parent I've been judged by my peers, by my family, for different things that I have or haven't done. So that's definitely something that prevents people. So the amount of people out there with, I mean, I can very much vouch for the fact that there is a lot of people out there. You are in a very familiar boat with lots of people around who are struggling also with their children in sleep. But the biggest narrative you do tend to hear is, oh well, my child sleeps through and I do X, Y, and Z. So if everybody just does X, Y, and Z, it'll all be fine, which isn't the case at all. So, and many parents, and I think I can very much put myself in this as well, to think that it's going to get better over time. So I'll not bother because it's going to get better eventually. So I'll just not do anything about it. Or it's part of what's going on for them with maybe their SEN needs or maybe their medical needs. It's part of it. So I'm just going to accept it, even if they have very much if they have SEN, but also if they have medical needs, there are still things that can be helped with making the situation improved. And that is very much what we're focusing on, making it improved. It's not about this 12 hours of sleep and getting anything that's at all perfect. Nothing in parenting life and children is at all aiming for perfection, but it's what we want is you to feel more confident, and we want our things to be improved, things to be better than they are now. Next slide, please. So we're a behavioural approach. It's a positive approach to bedtime. You as parents are very much the experts in your own children. We are led by you and what you want. We don't come in with our own agenda. We don't come and say you have to do X, Y, and Z. We're empowering you to make changes. And that's like with the question, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It doesn't need changing if it's not actually causing any issue. There's lots of information out there about sleep, and none of it is really incorrect. It's just about whether it's the right thing for your child, and every single child is different. So a bath before bed is not suitable for everybody. So sometimes it's actually much more suitable to keep the bath as far away from bedtime as possible. But that's one of those, but it's got good scientific reason why a bath is helpful. So for a lot of the population, that is a useful thing to do. For children who are calmed and relaxed by it. However, if you're not, it's not helpful. So finding your own personal jigsaw puzzle is what we try and do. What bits of information are really pertinent to you, and putting those together to help. So we listen. All sleep practitioners are qualified, and we have had additional training in neurodiversity as well. So that very much puts us at the forefront of things like that. Next slide, please. So within Cheshire and Wirral, Cheshire West and Cheshire East were commissioned by the NHS to offer support to families, children who are on the pathway or have a diagnosis of, sorry, that should say autism, not autistic, apologies for that, with autism or with ADHD, and we can support those families with sleep. As well as in Ellesmere Port and Wirral, we can support universally with sleep, so that you don't have to have that SEND diagnosis. We offer that in that small area as a universal offer. Something that's not on this slide, which could be added on, we have very new and recently started a teen text service. So just briefly, I'm trying to be brief and I'm trying to be dead quick because I know I've got a few slides left. We identified that there was a bit of a gap in our service. It's very difficult to support families with teenagers in the manner in which we do, where we support the parents to help the parents to make changes with their children. I mean, obviously we very much advocate that collaboration with them, but I don't know, I mean, I am a parent of teenagers, and I'm sure some of you are, that means of asking them to do anything is always met with a barrier anyway, even if it's please pick up your clothes off the floor. So trying to make changes with sleep from a parenting point of view, where you're trying to collaborate with your teenager, can be really challenging. So we offer a service where, and it's just an information given service, it isn't a two-way conversation. So we don't work with the teenager directly. However, we do send the teenager directly the information. So they get 4 lots of the of different things on each week of the information to help them and empower them and give them the autonomy to be able to make changes on their own sleep, and give them the reasons why as well. It's not just an information thing, it's very much telling them this is why we would suggest doing this, and it's useful to do that to help with your sleep. So that's a service that we've just very recently, so please don't hesitate to refer in your teenagers because they can access that service. Next slide, please. So with our offer, we have 6 week, it's all 6 weeks. We have in-person courses which are offered in Wirral and Cheshire West. Cheshire West being quite a large region, we do tend to move it around a bit. We've recently just done one in Ellesmere Port, and our next one in January will be, I think it's Northwich. So we're trying to have that offer for a face-to-face course, and we also offer that course offer in an online sense, because obviously we also do cover Cheshire East, which means that families from Cheshire East can access our service in an online course. And we also do a 6-week one-to-one telephone support. I mean, it can be telephone or it can be on Teams if you want to see someone's face and you find that a bit better. But that's the course gives you all the information that you will need and supports you through that process across the 6 weeks of making changes. One-to-one is a little bit, it is a bit different in its nature. I mean, the course is really good for peer support and meeting other people that are dealing with similar issues to yourself as sleep. However, the 6-week one-to-one support is very much more just talking about you and your child. So it's a little bit more bespoke, but it often what style of support people prefer is just personal choice and personal preferences. And it is the same staff who deliver it all, and the same staff who know all the same information. So you do get all of the information no matter what route that you choose to get it. Next slide, please. So you can access us by calling our number and referring yourself in. We have our email address, or you can ask to be referred by a professional. It is usually just as easy to contact us directly. But if you are at a paediatrician appointment, it's absolutely something that you can ask to be referred for. Next slide, please. Now, I was wondering about timing. Do I need to not go into the next bit, or are we okay for time? It was just a bit more in depth about some of the things that I've touched on.
Not if it's something you've already touched on, and it's just a
Okay.
little bit more in depth because you've only got about 4 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'll not get through it in 4 minutes. But if I mean, obviously these slides can be sent out because it does sort of go into sleep. I mean, not sleep, goodness me. It goes into food and exercise and how those things affect. So that'll be on there for people to look at in a little bit more depth.
Yeah, that is really good. And I just want to say I've accessed the service myself.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to lie, I was skeptical at first. I was like, oh, I'm going to be given these standard strategies and it ain't going to work for my autistic ADHD child. And it was not like that at all. It's completely personalised. So I highly, highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you. That's really great to hear.
That's quite insightful of what I got, but it is, like you say, it is really personalised. Thank you.
It is personalised, and it really does. It's not a one size fits all, and it shouldn't be. And I think that's what demoralises a lot of parents often, because the information that you do get is given as a bit of a one size fits all, and then when it doesn't suit you or your child, you just think you're a dreadful parent because it can't work for you. But actually, it's about getting that right information.
Jane?
Yeah, I've used the Koala Sleep Service. I did the online 6-week course and it was fantastic.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Thank you for your time. And again, we will send these slides out. And just before we finish, I've got a couple of updates from the PCF. And have we got any slides for that, Jane? There we go. So coming up, we've got our PCF survey, and we run our surveys biannually. And the reason we run our surveys is so that we can gather your voice, your experiences of SEND services, of how it's working for you, how easy it is to access, how included you feel in education or out in the community. And then what we do with that, we take that back to the local authority and say, this is what parents and carers are feeling in the borough. So our survey is conducted by us. We had a market researcher come and help us to construct the survey, so it's credible, it's ethical. And just so you know, it's done by us, parents and carers, and the data and the analysts of it is, and the report is done by us as well. Next slide, please, Jane. So we run our last one in 2024, and these were the key themes that came out of our last survey. And the top key themes were communication. You know, parents weren't happy with how they were being communicated with. They were finding it hard to get calls answered, emails answered, or delays in the EHCP process and the compliance rate, waiting times, waiting to access services such as the autism and ADHD diagnostic pathways, waiting to access mental health services. Wraparound care and short breaks. So, you know, for SEND families, there's not much after school clubs or holiday clubs that you can access, and basically the emotional toll it has on parents. So they were the key themes from 2024. So this time we're going to, next slide please. When we run it again, oh, it's not on there, it's okay. When we run it again, we are going to soft launch it in December over Christmas, and it takes about 10 minutes to fill out, and you need to fill it out for each of your children. But it's really important that you do that, because that gives us written evidence that we can go back to the council and say things aren't quite working well here, or in this age group. Similarly, if things are working well for you, then please do fill it out, because we can go back. Actually, there's really good practice in this area in Ellesmere Port in in the primary school age, but why is it not like that in Northwich? So we've got some real data that we can go back and work with the council with, and that the results are actually written in, your voices and those results are actually written into the SEND strategy, the Cheshire West and Chester SEND strategy, as a measuring mechanism. So the 2024s were written into the SEND strategy, and we will compare it. We will do a direct comparison. I will put the link into the last survey results and the SEND and the actual SEND strategy in the email when I send everything out, so you know a little bit more of what I'm going on about. And just finally, keep an eye on our Facebook page. If you haven't already signed up to our newsletter, and we have a lot of things going on. So we've got our Starting Well coffee and chat in January. We've got the online parent training, information, advice, support service, how to navigate the SEND system. So that's all about SEND support within schools. It's the EHCP process, and what to do if you've got a complaint or anything like that. And then we have our preparation for adulthood 1 in February. So yeah, please do follow us on Facebook, sign up to the newsletter, and keep up to date on things. Next slide, please. Now, if you are still with us and you wouldn't mind scanning the QR code and leave us a bit of feedback for today's session, what went well, what didn't go well, and even better if so we know how we can improve things moving forward. And I think that's it. Julie, anything else? Have I missed anything?
Yeah, Jane, would you mind stop sharing just for a second? That'd be great. We have had a few technical issues today, so thank you very much indeed for bearing with us. But with regards to our survey, are you okay, Lucy, if I pick up about the dates and stuff of our next one that you've put in place? Is that okay?
The slide I was looking for, sorry, and I couldn't remember.
No, that's okay. So just talk amongst yourselves whilst I rattle through here and hopefully get to it.
A survey
here we go. So we've got this the 2026 survey, which we're calling the big one, because these results are actually written into the SEND strategy, as Lucy said. We need you to keep an eye. We're basically coming to you and asking you for help. So one, we need you to fill it in, and the other one, what we need you to do is share it as far and wide as you possibly can. We're kind of doing a soft launch over the Christmas period, where you can sit there with your PJs on, watching a movie over the Christmas period and just spend 10 minutes filling it in. And then we're actually doing a really hard push from January. So it's going to be open from January the 6th through to February the 6th. But please do, we need your help in filling that in. There's going to be a social media campaign that goes behind it, that will keep reminding you. So whenever you see these images, please share them. And obviously fill in the survey, because it's your voices that really shape that change. You've talked about all the events that are coming up, and then there's that QR code for you again. So just please do let us know whether or not today's sessions worked for you, despite our little technical issues going on behind the background and us having like little mental meltdowns. But yes, it's all, we're here for you. So if you found today useful, brilliant, let us know. If you could let us know your experiences over on a wider scale when it comes to the actual the big one, we would really, really appreciate it, because without your voices, we can't hold the local authority, the NHS and everybody else to account. And we know that our friends in Starting Well will be sharing the survey, as will the education team. So we're asking everybody within that partnership group to do the same, to reach as many of your families as possible. But we know the value of the parent network and you guys speaking to each other. So please do share that. That would be fantastic. And I think that is that everything then, Luce?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
All that's left to say is have a fabulous Christmas, guys. And thank you for your time, and thank you for the presenters. You've done an amazing job today. So thank you very much indeed. It's been really, really informative.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
There we go. Are you, can you stop recording?
Will do. It'll let me stop recording.